Hello everyone. So we are going to be doing the order of operations and basic properties practice test today. Tests designed in this algebra class are going to look very similar to this practice test here. So notice at the top of the order of operations test, it does say that if you do not show your work, then you will not receive credit. So if you just have an answer written down with no work shown, I will be counting that problem as incorrect. So make sure that whenever you see the no work equals no credit, that you show every single step within your process, within your work, so that way you do get credit for the answer that you provide. Typically, my tests are split up in levels. So when we get to our first standard of the year, you will have a level 1 portion of the test, level 2, level 3, and level 4. With the order of operations test, I did not break it down by levels, and same with the basic properties test. I did not break it down by levels. But expect to have the levels for each standard. If you do not pass any of the levels on a test, then you would earn a grade of a 0. If you pass one level on the test, you would earn a grade of a 1. If you pass 2 levels, you would earn a grade of a 2. If you passed 3, you would earn a grade of a 3. And finally, if you passed the entire test, then you would earn a grade of a 4, which is the highest score that you could get. Sometimes we will be testing over 2 standards at once, and you would get a score for each standard. And for example, like this order of operations and basic properties test, you would have a score for the order of operations, and you would have a score for the basic properties part. Sometimes we may be only testing over 1 standard, so you would only receive 1 grade for the test. Now this is just a practice test, so this would not be counted as your final or as part of your grade. And in fact, I actually did the test for you. So you are going to be receiving my little practice test that I have completed for you. And I purposefully made some mistakes on these tests so that way we can talk about retake requirements. You are allowed to retake tests in this class. However, you are only given one opportunity to retake your test. When you are retaking, you do not have to retake the whole test, but you do need to retake the level or levels that you want to retake at one time. So for example, if you want to retake the level 3 and 4 for the test, then you would need to retake both the levels 3 and 4 at the same exact time. However, if you only want to retake on the level 3, then you are more than welcome to just retake on one level. So you will only get one retake opportunity for each standard. And so when you do the retake opportunity, you need to make sure you're retaking over every level that you want to retake on that standard at one time. Another thing is when you are doing a retake, you must have no missing assignments by the initial test date. So when you take the original test, you must have all of your assignments turned in for that standard in order to even have the opportunity to retake. All right. So when you are retaking, or if you decide you want to retake, for example, if I decide I want to retake this order of operations test, I need to get this retake requirements form, which can be, it is provided in your classroom. However, if you do not take it in your classroom, it can be found on the Canvas page. So when you go to Canvas page, you would click on modules on the left side of your screen. And then that extra retake form falls underneath the beginning of the year module. And you would click on that extra retake form link. And then it says click here for an extra retake form. And you would click on that. And you can print this off at home if you need an extra copy. And this is what it looks like. All right. So going back to the retake requirements, in addition to having no missing assignments, you also must complete reflective test corrections with 100% accuracy. So when you do your test corrections, you only will complete the ones that you did incorrectly, and you will try them again, but you must get the problems correct on your correction sheet in order to have the opportunity to retake. Also, you need to complete relearning videos with notes, and you will need to take the notes on a separate sheet of paper. So to find the relearning videos, you would again click modules on the left-hand side of your screen. And then let's say that you are doing the retake over the very first standard of the year. You would, which is ASSE 1, you would scroll down in Module 1 and you would find that I have the ASSE 1 reteach. This is only for students that need to relearn the material. You could also use this to help you study for a test if you wish. But this is what you would click on. And when you click on that, it brings you to this page here. So you can print off the notes if you wish, or you can just take notes on a separate sheet of paper. But then it gives you the reteach videos by level. So if you're only testing over levels 3 and 4, you would only need to do the levels 3 and 4 videos. But you do need to take notes on a separate sheet of paper or print off the notes and take it on there. And you do need to submit your notes in order to be allowed to retake. So I am going to go through with you how to do test corrections, reflective test corrections. So I'm going to pretend I'm a student retaking my test. And I checked with my teacher. I did have no missing assignments by that original test date. So that's already completed for me. And then I'm going to go into my Canvas. I'm going to find the relearning videos. I don't have any relearning videos for the order of operations, but pretend that I'm retesting here and I'm retesting over, let's say, level 3. I would click on the reteach video for level 3 for the standard that I'm retesting over. And now I would let this play and I would take notes on a separate sheet of paper. All right, and I will have to submit that. So once I do my relearning videos and I take notes on the relearning videos, I can then check that off and I will put that in the stack of the things that I'm going to turn into my teacher. So now I just need to do reflective test corrections with 100% accuracy. So it looks like on the order of operations test, which I'm going to be retaking, I did something wrong on numbers 1 and 2. Now I need to find my error, but if I cannot find my error, you can always ask your teacher for help. So looking at number 1, it looks like when I did a -3 squared, I turned this into a -9. But a -3 squared is a -3 times a -3, and a -3 times a -3 is a +9. So oops, that was my mistake here. So typically I would write the level number, but for order of operations test, I did not put this by levels. So if you were retesting over level 3, you would put level number 3. And then you put your test number. I am correcting question number 1. And then we write a reflection in complete sentences. What was your mistake? Explain your thinking. So in complete sentences, you're going to write down what your mistake was and reflect on it. So my mistake was I said that a -3 squared was a -9. However, a -3 times a -3 equals a +9. All right, so I explained my mistake and I reflected on it. And it's in a complete sentence. And now I'm going to redo the entire problem correctly. So I'm going to rewrite my problem, which is a -3 squared minus a 4 times a 2. And I'm going to show my work and I'm going to redo this problem correctly. So a -3 squared is a +9 and then minus a 4 times a 2. Now I'm going to do the 4 times the 2 in my order of operations. So I have a 9 minus an 8. And then lastly, I'm going to take care of the 9 minus the 8, and my answer comes out to be 1. And I'm gonna circle that answer so I can show my teacher that that is my clear-cut answer. All right, but then I also have another problem that I need to correct, question number 2. So again, if we were doing leveled test, which we will be starting soon, you would write down the level number. So if you're retesting over level 3, you would write down 3. And then we write down our question number. I messed up on number 2. So then we're gonna look over our work to see where our mistake was. So the first step I did a 1 minus a 4, which is a -3, so that's correct. And then, a -3 squared, I did it again. I made it into a -9. So my reflection, I'm going to put, I made the same mistake that I did in number 1. Okay. And then now I'm going to redo the problem and show all my correct work with that problem. So I'm going to rewrite it. I have a 2 times a 1 minus a 4 squared, and then I divided by 3. Oops. So my first step was good. So I have a 2 times now a -3 squared. This time I'm going to learn from my mistake, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. A -3 squared is a +9. So a 2 times a +9, and then divided by a 3. And now a 2 times a +9 is an 18. I can drop my parentheses now. Divided by a 3. And then lastly, an 18 divided by a 3 is a +6, not a -6. All right. And let's say that, so now I have my reflective test corrections completed. But since my basic properties test is attached, and I did that at the same time that I did my order of operations test, then let's see if I want to retest over that. I think I do, because I only got 1 wrong, but that brought me down to a 3. So since I'm going to be retesting on this, since this test was taken at the same time and I'm going to be retesting on both, then I do need to retake the test, both tests at the same time. So I can check off that I have no missing assignments, and then I'm going to do the relearning video that I find on Canvas and take notes on it. Okay, and then I do my reflective test corrections, which again, if we had a level number, we would put the level number, but test number would be question number 4. And here's what I did wrong. I wanted to display the associative property of addition. What I did was I displayed actually 2 things here. Associative property is changing the grouping, which I did change the grouping, but associative property is not changing the order. I changed the order that my terms were in. I changed the order of the 2x and the 9, and then I changed the grouping. But I only wanted to display the associative property. So I displayed the commutative property as well, which is not something that I wanted to display in number 4. So that's what my reflection is going to be about. What was my mistake? I displayed the commutative property along with the associative property. In my correction, I will show just the associative property. And then now I'm going to display my correction. And so what's going to happen is the associative property just changes the grouping, the parentheses. So instead of changing any order, I'm going to keep the terms in the same exact order. So the 2x plus the 9 plus the 8, they stay where they're at. But I'm just changing my parentheses. So I'm going to be putting the parentheses, instead of around the 2x and the plus 9, I'm going to be putting it around the 9 plus the 8. And that is the associative property displayed correctly now. So now I did my reflective test correction, and I'm going to turn everything in, and I'm going to show up to the retake date to take my retake.